Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner, Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, the Cubs have taken the first two against the Cleveland Guardians. They played pretty well in this
Mhm.
series so far, and maybe they've caught a little break here as well as Cleveland's starter for Thursday night has been scratched. He is taking a leave of absence and under investigation. We don't really have at the moment when we're recording. We don't have any details right now. It's a little mysterious as to what's going on. We won't bother to speculate, but I'm sure my assumption is something will come out as it usually does. Doesn't seem like Cleveland is going to say anything about those details. This is so far so good. It's a start of I'd say an important homestand in the sense that the Cubs have just kind of been playing fine baseball, nothing terrible, nothing great of late, and you want to see them get on a little bit of run maybe here before the All-Star break. Uh, and last night was a nice game in the sense that Shota Imanaga may not have been at his best, but he did enough. He kept his team in. I thought Council made a good point in that he struggled with the fastball early and made an adjustment mid game and shut down Cleveland the rest of the way and set it up for the bullpen and the offense. And that offense showed up yet again. Like I said, make a run before the All-Star game. The Cubs have two starters in that All-Star game, one of whom is Pete Crow-Armstrong. We talk about Shota Imanaga. He was the star that emerged last season. PCA, a very, one of the biggest stars in the game. Uh, I think maybe people around Chicago had hopes that it could happen. I don't know if any of us really expected it to happen this quickly. And some of the stuff that we've seen over the past couple of years from him just kind of coalesce this quickly. It's just been a remarkable rise for a kid that is so. I mean, Council said it. He's really humble, but it's just listening to him talk. Sometimes I'm just like, this guy wants to credit everyone in the world, and has so many people that he wants to thank that he's gotten to this point.
Yeah, I do think there are a lot of people who had a hand in this, and obviously the credit always goes to the player first. And it's not like Pete Crow-Armstrong was some out of nowhere underrated player. I mean, he was on Team USA's under 12 national team, a first round pick out of high school in after a senior season that was cut short due to COVID right at the onset of that in 2020. Undergoes shoulder surgery while a New York Mets prospect, and that leaves him a little bit out of sight, out of mind, to where the Cubs can uh, trade for him. And I think we've heard along the way that it's pretty genuine when Pete credits some of these people, though. Like, even though he had all the talent in the world, he was open to instruction and changes. I think there was some natural maturity that happens between the ages of whatever, from being a high school senior to now being 23 years old. Like, that certainly happened. And I think it's also just the adjustments he's made at the major league level. I mean, this is something the Cubs talked about kind of as Joe Madden left and they cycled through David Ross and Craig Counsell coming from Milwaukee. Of player development never stops. Like, it has to keep happening in the major leagues. And I mean, you've seen it here. I mean, I guess everyone's always working on stuff, but with Pete, it's like this light bulb went off in April out on the West Coast. And I think we'll see it. I don't think he's going to wind up like with a 40-40 season. Like, there's going to be some like peaks and valleys here, but like kind of everything you want in a franchise type player.
Yeah, I mean, he said it last night when we were talking to him. He kind of uh he feeds off the energy.
Mhm.
I believe what he said was he appreciates how people kind of embrace how he plays, and Council was the one who said he plays with like this flair, and he kind of needs it to
Yeah.
succeed. While Tucker is, the opposite in the
Yeah.
sense that Tucker is just like a metronome. He's going
Yeah.
out there very day to day workman like, and it it's this it's like there's a gravity about it, right? That there's people are drawn to the way he plays. It's so easy to enjoy it. Uh, him running around the bases yesterday for that triple and overrunning third. It was I was watching him take that wide turn and I was like, what is he doing exactly? But I think sometimes he's just like it can
Yeah.
be it's not I don't want to call it out of control because he's for his talent and what he can do, he's pretty in control. But there are these sometimes these wild swings or these just like going 100 miles per hour, and 99% of the time it leads to something brilliant. We've seen some of these home runs come on balls at his eyes or balls at his ankles. So he's this remarkable talent that does things that others you would tell not to do. And he's able to. I remember when he hit those home runs, those two home runs. It was before he got hot, before the All Star break last year. Excuse me, in St. Louis,
Yeah.
and council kind of said, uh, "Well, those are like those aren't pitches that we want him to swing at, really." But he's kind of made a habit of that. He's doing
Yeah.
something. You don't want people swinging at some of these pitches that he swings at, and it can lead to it. Like you said, he's gonna have down moments, and that probably leads to some slumps because that's the type of player he is. But I don't think it's. I think what we're seeing is he's got this ability to kind of avoid the extended slump, and he also has this ability to not dwell on it. While in the moment it looks like he takes it really hard. He's someone that I wonder how many helmets he's broken this season. Uh, I think that's kind of the you know say what you will about how he reacts. I think it's kind of the perfect way in the sense that in baseball, if you're going to be upset about what happens, just you let it be that moment. Don't
Yeah.
dwell on it. And it doesn't seem like he dwells on it. It's over once he slams that helmet or slams the bat or says whatever he needs to say. It seems like he turns the page pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can definitely see those moments of frustration, but I think really what he's done is kind of breathe new life into the Chicago Cubs. I mean, maybe that's overstating it a bit, but like when you look at this sort of moment here of the circumstances in which he was traded here, as part of this post 2016 rebuild that we won't call a rebuild, joining a team that was kind of on the fringes, on the wild card bubble, but just like couldn't quite get over the hump. And obviously, we'll talk about Kyle Tucker in the next segment, and he's been a huge elevating force for this group as well. But just like, even when the Cubs were sort of rolling in 23 and 24, like when they had those good stretches, like there wasn't a ton of like excitement or personality or like the highlight reel clips. And again, I'm overly over generalizing here, but like Pete brings something different, like a national spotlight, just a flair that brings young kids in, just a great spokesman for being so young. He talks as if he's been in the big leagues for 10 years, and I don't mean that in a way in which he's like condescending or entitled. It's just that he has really good, for as immature he could look in the moment while slamming his helmet. He comes across as extremely mature anytime you ask him a question. And so I just think, there's him having an MVP type year in a year when Kyle Tucker is so close to free agency. The whole front office is on the hot seat. Ownership and business side is like, where's kind of the draw to this team besides just Wrigley Field? Like, what's that catalyst? It's been Pete Crow-Armstrong.
Yeah, they to have seasons like this, you need surprises. We've talked about that a lot. Like to get superstar surprise is how you have a great season. And it seems like the Cubs, at least in the first half, are embarking on a pretty great season. This is, I think, better than even someone like me who's optimistic, but did not expect this type of season as far as feeling this strong and being among the best in baseball. This is you needed something like this to get there, and of course you needed Kyle Tucker, and we'll talk about him. Let's take a quick break.
We're going to take you through the latest card that I pulled in my Arena Club slab pack, AJ, and here it is. I pulled a Jared Jones card. So Jared Jones is going to be out for a minute, but I'm going to hold on to this one for the long term. He was nasty in his rookie season.
Agreed. This is a great card to pull. It's going to go up in value once he comes back because this guy dealt in his rookie season, gets punch outs, he gives the innings. Once he's back, Scott, you're in it for the long term. Don't give up on Jared Jones or this card you got from Arena Club.
Yep, there it is. That's how you pull a slab pack card. It's very cool. It's all fancy and digital. You can get it sent to you physically. And if you want to sell it right back to Arena Club, you can do that with their buyback option right away, or you can hold it. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Just go to arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL. We've been talking about Arena Club all season long because they dominate the hobby. If you buy, sell, trade, collect, go for it.
Patrick, Kyle Tucker is an all-star. I don't think any of us are surprised by it. He is in the midst of arguably his best season ever. Really nice time to have that season, platform season. He's in a bigger market. No offense to the Astros, obviously a great team, a great organization that's won a couple World Series in the recent past and seems to consistently make the playoffs year after year. But, Chicago, LA, New York are just bigger places. You have a better chance to kind of become a national star. And if Kyle Tucker had gone unnoticed, that's not happening anymore. Yeah. He's starting alongside PCA and Ronald Acuna Jr. If PCA's the flair and the flash of this team, like I said before, like Kyle Tucker's just the metronome. He's just there day after day, making plays, making this team better, and he has elevated the group. There are so many players that feel like that can just go about doing their business and not having to be the star, not have the pressure on them, because Kyle Tucker seems to be able to just handle all that pressure without even, barely aware that it's happening. I don't know if he's so calm. Sometimes it seems like there's not much emotion there. I think his teammates see it more than we do, but it's impressive to watch him go about business, and he just like it's kind of that whatever happens, and he's just going to go out there and do his thing, and it works every single day.
Yeah, Council explained this very well on Wednesday at Wrigley, of just how with Pete and Kyle, it's kind of this like, I don't know, fire and ice, yin and yang type thing where they feed off of each other. And Council, who is not just a manager, has a background in the front office and is kind of has a broad kind of base level understanding of scouting and player development, just from his experiences being in the game so long. He called Kyle Tucker, he was someone who has like the perfect ideal makeup for a major league hitter. And I don't think that's hyperbole. That's not really how Council communicates. And obviously Tucker's track record is such that it's hard to argue with, but it's just this idea of being able to separate every single pitch as a distinct event and just moving on from the pitch, the at bat. I mean, sometimes it looks like Kyle Tucker just kind of like rolled out of bed and walked to the batter's box. You know what I mean? Like there's not a whole lot of, gyrations or worry on his face or sort of reaction. it's just kind of, all right, move on to the next one. And I think teammates subtly pick up on that. I think there's kind of a calming effect, not just because of how he handles the at bat, but also because he does damage, and that makes things easier just for everyone. I mean, Council alluded to this is a contract year. You know, sometimes that can go in different directions, and you know, clearly this guy's gonna get paid, and it will be well earned because I think he's shown kind of another level. I mean, you were saying the other day, right? This could be his best season, but also
Yeah.
doing it under these circumstances, I think without the same supporting cast he had during some of those, you know, deep October runs with the Astros, I think all of it just kind of enhances his value as a free agent.
Yeah, I believe just according to Fangraphs, his career best WAR was 2021 at 5. He is at 4 already.
Okay.
2021, he played in 140 games. So far, he's played in 85 games. Yeah, assuming he stays healthy, this is he's you know on pace for his best season, WAR wise at least. You touched on it there. There's contract year coming to a huge market, a bigger market, the spotlight, more scrutiny. He goes from a team for much of the time that he was there. There was Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, George Springer was there at one point. All those guys, Jose Altuve, just star after star, all stars, MVP candidates. And he's he doesn't have to carry the load. He doesn't have to be the guy. How would he handle that? He handles it with aplomb. Apparently, he doesn't have any issues. Stays the same. Exactly what Council said. All these changes being uprooted, traded from the only organization he's known in professional baseball. None of it seemed to rattle him. He he enters. When did Vlad sign that contract? Some early on in the season. The season had already started, I believe,
Yeah.
maybe. So he's all this pressure. There's so many different pressure points, and none of it seems to impact him. He just goes out there and continues to play at this elite level. That type of stuff, I feel like we can gloss over it because it's hard. We just don't know the impact. We don't know how to measure it, and it's so easy to just dismiss. But I think it says a lot about him, and it's all the more reason why he's going to get paid. He's going to get a ton of money because it's like, okay, this guy isn't a distraction in any way. He doesn't get distracted. He's a good presence in the clubhouse. He elevates everyone around him. There's just so many positives. I guess I'm making the case for the Cubs to spend what it takes to keep him, but that's like we discussed. What was that earlier this week? I don't know if that's going to happen, and it'll continue to be a talking point until he signs wherever he signs. But it's just so clear what he has done to this team, and we talked about last year the extended slumps of the offense in May and June that led to essentially the downfall of the team and the team not making the playoffs. Had similar slumps in 2023. Those were both good teams. They just weren't great. And while you need Brad Keller and Drew Pomeranz and Chris Flexen, and then you need PCA to come out and be a good player to go to great. You also just need the guy that was already a superstar, and they went out and got him, and now they've become this team that looks completely different than what we expected. And a down month is 500. That's June. How
good
many
point.
fans were at different points? I'm sure there were fans and media members that after a bad loss, here comes the slide, and they bounce back immediately. They never had that huge slide. I think St. Louis was a perfect example of that. They've done a really good job of avoiding that. That's not all on Tucker, but he's he's kind of that piece that kind of changed everything and then locked everything into place. Um, Patrick, let's take one more quick break and then come back and talk about some other one of those guys that he's helped elevate, I believe, and then a couple other players who may have a shot at making the All-Star team.
Nothing says summer like long days, clutch plays, and firing off a few bets on the game, all with DraftKings Sportsbook. Never bet on baseball before? It's easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Boyd, Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Patrick, one name that feels like he's an all-star, leads the league in RBIs, just hits the crap out of the ball. Seiya Suzuki, it seems like every single time he's up, he's coming through lately. He's coming up with big hits. He's driving the ball in the gap. He's hitting it over the fence. I believe he has 23 home runs, which is 2 over his career high. He's already 23 home runs. He is he's one below his MLB career high for RBI. He's matched last year's total. Some of this stuff that's kind of ridiculous. He had a great night. I don't know what day it is. He had a great night Wednesday. He's just been, incredibly good. I don't know if he will get there. Some of this stuff can be weird with the All-Star game, but I assume with injuries and things like that, he's in. I can't imagine that Seiya Suzuki isn't an All-Star.
Certainly All-Star worthy performance, a first half that, he deserves to be in it. But yeah, between the injuries and every team has to get a representative and, guys begging out or I don't know. I don't spend a whole lot of brain power of trying to figure out the last couple spots. I think it's more just the eye test. You look at his stats, you watch him. And I think that was kind of this nagging feeling around Seiya the last couple of years of he's, just unbelievably jacked, physically is just a force. And then you look at, if you're into the data, he lights that up, swing decisions, all of these things. But Jed Hoyer said it, we would talk about man, he really should be putting more balls in the seats, and he hadn't. And for him to have this year, I think this is the hitter they envisioned. And it's kind of interesting when you look at these three players we've been talking about of okay, you're not going to call it a rebuild, but you have to hit on certain things. And, the trade deadline of 21, as unpopular and as uncomfortable as that could have been, they at least nailed one trade to get a franchise level player in PCA. Coming out of the lockout, it was intelligent spending, right? The next great Cubs team, a deal where they felt they could find a competitive advantage in Japan with kind of the investments they had made there. And this was the hitter they hoped Seiya would become. And then when you have some pieces, you kind of need that finishing move for an established star. And it was Kyle Tucker. And I think all three of these players, have kind of fed off each other. If you kind of watch every night, Cubs had that great hot start offensively where everyone was crushing the ball, and there were certain players, like Carson Kelly, who had kind of unbelievable stretches, and it felt like it was going. Like, I think it's kind of cooled down a bit to where it's like, yeah, they have those. I would say Michael Busch has had a nice, first half as well, but like those three guys are driving it in a lot of ways and kind of feeding off each other in terms of, there are guys on base. That's why Seiya has, so many RBIs, right? Like they're setting the table for him. I think Seiya's learned from Tucker's patience and discipline, what we were talking about in the prior segment. And then, you have Pete and Seiya with their like weird relationship and kind of celebrations and kind of just the goofiness, that happened. That's way more endearing on winning teams, and that just looks kind of like amateur hour if the team's bad. Like they have those little inside jokes and those kind of the celebrations and the taps and things like that, and so you have a lot of things coming together at once here, and certainly Seiya has performed at a level to which he would certainly make sense to be in the all-star team picture.
So you talked about, you can look at the data and stuff like that. There's just some stuff that it just pops out at you. I think this one is really simple. Ground ball rate in 2023, so 2 seasons ago, was 43.1%. It's down to 28.5% this season, just completely reversing that number. He's gone from a ground ball hitter, like ground ball dominant. He's was hitting the ball hard, but it was just on the ground too much. It was, simple change, launch angle change. As far as barrel percentage, 2023, 10.5%. Now it's 18.4%. That's a huge jump. He's one of the best at barreling the ball up now. He just consistently puts he always hit the ball hard. That was never a problem. It was just, I guess you could call it contact point. I'd be curious to hear him talk about it. It's sometimes with the interpreter, it's hard to get into these, the nitty gritty with these players. But something has changed there. I think it's beyond him being more aggressive. There's something that he's changed to get that contact point and launch the ball a little bit more consistently. Council did say, it is different the way he hits it. It's not these long, majestic home runs. It's these hard liners, and sometimes they just like scrape the top of the wall, but they're hit 115 miles per hour, and it just just flies out of the park so quickly. But it isn't the Glen Allen Hill type home run. It's a different type of home run, but he's putting it in the seats so much more often. Patrick, I don't know how if they're going to give others spots, but I think there's a couple other players that deserve mention. One is Michael Busch. Michael Busch is having just a ridiculously good season and so quietly going about it. I mean, I'm not sure if there's many first basemen that are having a better season, purely offensively. Maybe Pete Alonso. I think Pete Alonso is probably the only guy. He's having a better season offensively, or equal season offensively, to Freddie Freeman. It's similar values by WAR according to Fangraphs. Better offensively according to Fangraphs. Weighted runs created plus. I think he's deserving. I just don't know if there's enough spots. And then pitching wise, we talked about Matthew Boyd last episode. I think he's an all-star. I keep looking at those numbers. The keys for me is like you're a starting pitcher and you're among the leaders in innings pitched, and then your ERA is super low. It seems like a simple way to get in there. And the bullpen's been great. I just don't know if they have a guy that you focus in on. Maybe Daniel Palencia. We'll talk more about him next episode, but I don't know if these secondary guys don't get in. That's not how the All-Star game works. But Drew Pomeranz has a 0 ERA. Brad Keller just seems to go out there and get the job done every single time he's called upon. They're not getting it on the All-Star team. I'm not sure if but maybe with the saves and the 102 mile per hour fastball, Daniel Palencia can sneak in. Not sure if there's anyone else I would point to, but those, I mean, it's so much more than what we expected coming into the season. I think it was like Kyle Tucker, and can anyone else get in there? Shota, if he's, obviously Shota was hurt. Justin Steele, like these guys, it's a different group than what you came into the season thinking about.
No doubt. I mean, I think part of it too is like sometimes with the All-Star stuff, it's like it almost takes a year for things to sink in, and I think this Cubs team has surprised people, and that there are guys with lower name recognition, like the entire bullpen. I don't know if Palencia's had the like runway as a closer to where he's kind of top of mind here, but certainly he's performing at that level. I don't know if Council can create like an out-getter position on an all-star roster, but certainly like Brad Keller's done everything they've asked and more. And yeah, I'm with you with Matthew Boyd. Like when you're the best pitcher on a first place team and you're putting up innings, your traditional numbers look good, you've made every start. It would just be a nice honor given the journey, the injuries he's gone through to get to that point. I think it's nice to reward guys, who are kind of, later in their career, who've really had to work for it, that it's not just the same guys over and over. Like a really nice human interest story if it does eventually happen.
Yeah, and I completely spaced. Of course, Carson Kelly deserves a mention.
Yeah,
he was a finalist.
Yeah.
Slumped there for a little bit. I think he looks good again. I think that's I'm not sure he's not going to match what he did that run he was on, however long it was, 3 weeks, a month. That's very unlikely. But doing what he's doing now, that's really important. Just get a couple doubles, get base hits, take some walks. So incredibly important for this team to have just consistent production beyond the stars. I don't know, Will Smith has had a hell of a season.
Yeah.
I don't know the rest of I'm like you. I'm not going to do a deep dive on this stuff. The All-Star game, maybe the All-Star game has lost its luster. It's a great honor for these guys. I guess the All-Star game isn't what it was when we were growing up. I think we can debate the value of releasing all these numbers as far as votes and everything. I think it takes a little away from the surprise of it. But
that's like phase 2 and then like all these different layers. I still think it's a great event. Like I would not take anything away, but just more of just the process and how it's just like, okay, like just let us know who's an all-star or not. We can write the story,
Yeah. The whole like finalist stuff. I was just like, there's finalists? I didn't even realize it until like they're announcing, like they're like, oh, it's between Will Smith and Carson Kelly. I'm like, wait, they have finalists? Why would they announce the final two? It's kind of like taking away from it.
It's overly complicated.
Yeah. It's not my favorite thing, but I do like the festivities are still really fun. The All-Star game is still an event and a fun event, and it's just a great, like, talking to people about it. When you talk to them and they've made it, especially the first timers, it's a big deal. It matters a lot. Seiya did say, and I think we can leave it on this. Seiya said, if he makes it, great, but he's focused on getting to the postseason. That's much more important. I think that's what this team should be focused on, and I think they're setting a nice stage here for possibly a really fun end of the summer and into October. We'll see what the rest of the week holds. We'll get to that later this week, and then next week a fun weekend in St. Louis, or against St. Louis at Wrigley. We'll talk about that soon. All right, Patrick, let's wrap this one up. It's Northside Territory. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take